Whoopi Goldberg. Whoopi Goldberg. If you don't know who she is, she's pretty much the token black lady on the show The View. Whoopi Goldberg said something that really caught my attention. Well, she says a lot of things, but this time around, she actually said that you the regular person with your opinion, she says you are the problem. So it's not the activists that are the problem. It's not the lobbyists that are the problem. It's not the policymakers that are the problem. No. It's you. You who has an opinion, you are the problem. And she said it pretty much with one sentence. I'm going to play the video so you can actually, you don't think maybe I'm making this stuff up. They just don't make this stuff up.
So I'm not sure what's going on or why this is an issue. The same for me as when people say, oh, I don't know how I feel about you. You do. God doesn't make mistakes.
No.
And the challenge is not to the trans people, it's to the people who are not trans. That's what God is looking to see, how you treat people.
Yeah.
Wow. Isn't that just something, people? Isn't that just something? Just in case you didn't hear that, she said that God doesn't make mistakes and that the challenge is not to the trans people, it's to the people who are not trans. When I heard that, I had to pause, because that one line for me just exposed exactly what's wrong with American cultural conversation. And today we're going to break it down. We're going to break it down as calmly as possible. We're going to be, we're going to be honest. We're going to be logical, and we're going to be fearless with our breakdown. Because whether you like it or not, Whoopi Goldberg got it absolutely wrong. What Whoopi said was totally and absolutely wrong. But let's start with the message itself. She said, when she says that the challenge is to people, to people who are not trans, what she's really saying is that, hey, if you have a question, then you're the problem. If you want boundaries, then you're the problem. If you want to protect your daughter's sports, then you're the problem. If you care about biology, then you're the problem. This is just nothing more than Hollywood mindsets. The sort of Hollywood mindset that oversimplifies a complicated issue into some ridiculous moral, lecture with zero nuance, zero reality. They just reduce it to a simple case of, hey, be quiet, accept it, or you're just going to get labeled as a bad person, maybe even get cancelled. And the people who say this, the truth about the people who say this, people like Whoopi Goldberg who say this, is the fact that they never feel the consequences of these policies that they are promoting. But let's talk about the real issue. And let me borrow something from the Democrats. To me, a party that to me has pretty much been messing up, as being a real disappointment, at least as early as Obama's second term in office. Let me borrow something from them and say this. Let me be clear. I want to be very clear on something, and that's the fact that transgender people are not the enemy. They are human beings. They are human beings who are deserving of dignity and respect. The problem is actually the ideology and not the identity. There's a difference between respecting people and surrendering reality. There's a difference between live your life and change the entire world, or else we're going to, label you as being hateful. There's a difference between compassion, and compelling people to accept what they don't just think is right. But you see, when celebrities speak, all the nuances, they just disappear. They're just meant to go away. And for me, that just exposes the fact that I don't know. It just exposes the fact that I don't know if you realize it, but Hollywood itself has pretty much become a bubble. And what Whoopi said, in fact, a lot of things Whoopi says just exposes the fact that most people in Hollywood, they just live in a bubble. Because when Whoopi is speaking, She's speaking from a world that actually has not much consequences. They're not facing the consequences of what she's talking about. Her daughter isn't the one losing the scholarship because she's because she's not trans or something. She's not the one losing the scholarship to a biological male. She doesn't have to deal with biological males walking into changing rooms. She's not dealing with schools hiding transitions from parents. She's not having to live under policies that silence people who ask questions. Shout out to UK and the EU for that. She's not living in states where disagreement equals hate speech. And people either go to jail for it or get ostracized for it. So from her castle, from her condo or apartment or wherever, it is so easy for her to be preaching compassion when she's not actually one paying for the mistakes. And Hollywood, the truth about Hollywood is that they only feel things like the applause. They only feel the applause. They only feel the cheers. And hey, all they also feel is just money going into their pockets, into their bank accounts. But you see, regular people, whether you be American or European or whatever part of the world you're from, the regular people, they're the ones who have to live and feel these policies day in, day out. Policies that sometimes they're not even part of when it comes to like making them or even shaping them. Because whether you like it or not, there is a political machine behind all this. Because here's the real truth. The trans conversation has actually been hijacked. It's been hijacked not by trans people, not by families, not even by the, I'm not going to call them almighty, but not by the LGBTQ community. It's been hijacked by political strategists who have realized that identity politics, whether you believe it or not, identity politics now equals to instant moral high ground. You question it? Hey, you're called hateful. You criticize the policy? They call you dangerous. You talk about biology. They say, hey, you're trying to incite violence. What this is, or what this has become, is emotional manipulation. Emotional manipulation that has been packaged as compassion. And Whoopi, whether knowingly or unknowingly, whether knowing it or not knowing it, she's just repeating the same propaganda. The same propaganda that says absolute, excuse my language, but it says an absolute FU to reality. But hey, here's a reality check, guys. Whoopi, yes, I know Whoopi said that God doesn't make mistakes. And hey, guys, that is true. Ladies and gentlemen, that is true. But you know who makes mistakes? Humans. I make mistakes. You make mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. We all do. We're all human beings. And the policies that are being pushed today by our fellow humans, they have a lot of mistakes. I'm going to just list some of them for you. They have mistakes like, men being in women's sports, which is weird. They have schools hiding transitions from parents. They have, medical paths for minors, for crying out loud. They're out here trying to redefine biology through activism. They're criminalizing, disagreements. They're silencing debates. They're forcing language on people using the law. This isn't compassion anymore, ladies and gentlemen. The progressives, they call it progress, but it isn't progress at all. The liberals, they call it compassion. It is not compassion in any way or form. What it is, ladies and gentlemen, is ideology that is wrongfully being backed by power. And the people pushing back, they're pushing back, but it's not because that they hate anyone. But it's actually because society the society as we know it, the society as we see it, as we live in today, is actually collapsing. Why? Because the truth has become optional. When the real thing, when the reality is that the truth should be the necessity and not some option. But here's the blunt reality of the whole thing. If we're to keep it real, we're to keep it 100. Because Whoopi, she wants you to feel guilty for seeing the obvious. But here's the truth. You're not the problem. Biology is not hate. Boundaries, whether you like it or not, that's not bigotry. Protecting women, that's not discrimination at all. Protecting children, that's not extremism. And definitely, disagreeing with someone, not agreeing with what someone says. Hey, guess what? That's not violence either. This conversation isn't about attacking trans people, ladies and gentlemen. It's actually just about confronting a manipulative system that uses them as a shield for unpopular policies. Because whether you like it or not, and I don't know if you watched that video I did about the shutdown and how it exposed people's dependency on welfare. If you haven't seen that, I suggest you see that after this video. Because whether you like it or not, no, I strongly feel that this whole trans talk is just geared at actually distracting people from the fact that they've become so dependent on policies to the point that very soon, and I bet you, I'm ready to bet any amount of money, very soon, governments are going to start using welfare to start controlling people. You should go see that video. Because that's, for me, this is just all part of what I call, tools being used by the so-called distraction committee to blind you from what is really going on underneath, what's really going on behind closed doors. But hey, that's just my take. That's just how I see it. That's just the way we see it. But ladies and gentlemen, if you're tired of being guilt-tripped, if you're tired of being emotionally blackmailed, if you're tired of celebrities like Whoopi Goldberg, preaching sermons to you, then hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. You are the right place. This is the Blunt Experience. The place where we tell you the truth without apology. We tell you the truth that mainstream media do not want to tell you. And if you actually enjoy this episode, if this episode made you think, then please, I do ask that you please do share it with someone, especially people who are tired of Hollywood telling them, what to believe. And please do also, like the video, and also please do support us by subscribing to the video. And please also, check out all the videos. We're on TikTok, the Blunt XP5. We are on Instagram, the Blunt XP. We're also on X, the Blunt XP. Please also do check out our other videos on YouTube. And whatever you do, ladies and gentlemen, please do stay sharp, do stay aware, and stay blunt. Thank you so much. I'll see you in the next video.